Hello, and welcome to the Microgrid Planning Academy, brought to you by the New Jersey Institute of Technology and Greener by Design. This webinar will present information on working in a collaborative way with public energy utilities during the microgrid planning process. Planning a microgrid is a complex process that is driven by many technical, economic, and financial concerns. Utilities can be important partners with you to help solve some of the more complex pieces of this planning puzzle and can assist you in planning a successful microgrid project. The microgrid has the potential to let local government participate directly in providing energy savings, improved energy services, and increased environmental benefits for their constituents. Working closely and cooperatively with your local energy utility is one of the most important factors for ensuring the success of the microgrid project. This webinar is designed to present some background about the public energy utilities and how to make the most of your collaborative partnership. As a way of introduction to this topic, this first slide presents an overview of the so-called end vision for microgrid planning, showing that the local municipality will be working closely with the microgrid provider who will finance, own, operate, and maintain the microgrid during so-called blue sky and black sky conditions. One can see that the same systems and bills will be in place if you are drawing power and distributing it from the microgrid or the utility that operates the local distribution system. Customers will get a choice based on the better price. In addition to that, the microgrid can provide power during emergencies. The microgrid has the potential to let local government participate directly in providing energy savings, improved energy services, and increased environmental benefits for their constituents. Microgrid represents a fundamental change to the way our electric distribution systems have been operated for nearly 100 years. Since the beginning of the 20th century, the American electric system has been based on locating large generation units, typically run on fossil fuels like coal, gas, and oil, and more recently by nuclear fission, in areas far outside of major population centers. The generation capacity was once mostly owned by the energy utilities themselves. Now, most of the generation is owned by independent power producers and delivered by the energy utilities through their distribution system. Technological improvements have resulted in new electric power generation technologies that can be installed within the cities. The microgrid movement that builds on this new trend of small and powerful generation technologies will bring more electric generation inside of cities and inside the electric distribution system itself. This new generation allows for more compact, less polluting generators, which includes renewable power like solar arrays and wind turbines. Microgrids will have these generation technologies and also remain hooked up to the distribution system and buy power from the electric utilities as necessary. The local public utility companies that bring you energy services like electric power and natural gas are the entities directly responsible for ensuring that the energy distribution systems are safe and reliable. Therefore, it is important that the utility companies are involved with your microgrid planning process from the very start. They have access to critical information that can ensure that the distribution system remains safe and reliable for everybody. Because of this duty to provide energy services safely and reliably, the utility knows and understands the energy delivery infrastructure better than anybody. This means collaborating with them is the best way to maximize the benefits for everybody and make the microgrid system as seamless and efficient as possible. Also, as you will see in this presentation, the utility companies possess important information that is necessary for the microgrid planning process. This webinar will introduce what types of information the utilities can provide and how it may be used to plan your project. This presentation will provide information on the who, what, when, where, why, and how of working with your local public energy utility companies during the microgrid planning process. You are probably already very familiar with your local energy utility companies just from paying your electricity and gas bills every month. The energy utilities own and operate the energy delivery infrastructure such as the wires, poles, equipment, and pipelines. Because of the great expense necessary to build and maintain this infrastructure, energy utilities are regulated as monopolies by the government to provide these services. The energy utilities offer default sales of gas and power supply, though they have to compete with other companies or third-party suppliers for your business. The energy utilities also prepare and send your energy service bills every month, even for pass-through services, such as sales of electricity and gas by third parties that arrive through their distribution system. They also pass along charges to maintain the national grid that delivers electricity to your home and businesses and government buildings from distant generation plants. In New Jersey, the distribution of energy services is mostly covered by a few large utility companies, along with a few locally controlled municipal utilities. Electric utilities include investor-owned companies and publicly owned agencies. They may be engaged in all or only some aspect of the energy industry. Utilities are regulated by local and national authorities. Investor-owned utilities are private electricity and natural gas providers. In New Jersey, the investor-owned utilities are very large companies that cover most of the service areas, as may be seen in the map on this slide. The main electric power utilities include Atlantic City Electric, which is a subsidiary of Exelon, First Energy, which is also known as Jersey Central Power and Light Company, or JPC&L, the Public Service Electric and Gas Company, better known to everybody as PSE&G, and Rockland Electric, which is a holding of Consolidated Edison in New York State that also operates in New Jersey and Passaic and Bergen counties. Publicly owned utilities are generally smaller than investor-owned companies and are subject to local public control and regulation. They are organized in various forms, including municipal districts, city departments, or rural cooperatives. In New Jersey, there are several publicly owned utilities, including those in the boroughs of Madison, Middletown, Park Ridge, Seaside Heights, South River, Butler, Lavalette, Pemberton, and the city of Vineland. There is also a Sussex Rural Electric Cooperative in Sussex County, which is owned by its members. Some of these small public utilities own their own generation resources, but mostly they purchase power from the larger distribution utility. Natural gas service is provided by four major utilities, including New Jersey Natural Gas, Elizabethtown Gas Company, PSE&G, and South Jersey Gas. These companies own and operate the network of underground pipes that are hooked up to the larger regional and national piping systems. The United States has become the world's largest producer of gas in recent years, and because of this, the price of natural gas has fallen to historic lows, making the production of electricity by natural gas cheaper than it has ever been. However, international markets for American gas may drive up the price of natural gas in the coming years, making the use of renewables and microgrids even more valuable. Because the energy utilities own and operate the distribution infrastructure and prepare your energy bills, they have a lot of very important information for your microgrid planning process, including information on your energy usage, the infrastructure of the distribution system, and whether there are power and service quality concerns in your area that the microgrid may help address. These are important because they can provide valuable information that can inform the size and location of the microgrid being evaluated. Past bills and meter data for the facilities in the microgrid that the utilities can provide will have very important information for the microgrid planning process, such as how much energy do the facilities in the microgrid consume? What is the peak usage of the microgrid facilities? And how does energy consumption change over the course of the day and seasons? This will provide important design information such as typical loads, energy costs, and needed capacity. The utilities can provide key information about the energy loads in your facilities, including how much energy is used and when it is used most. Some of this information will be in the collections of your historic utility bills and the metered energy use records for each of the facilities and associated feeders and feeding substations from the distribution system. This data may be used to evaluate existing capacity and energy usage patterns over the preceding years. The utilities will also have information of great interest to your technical consultants to help them understand the capacity of the distribution system in your area. This information includes records of electricity feeders and feeding substations and load shapes for day type and seasonal load forecasting. Load shapes are graphs, such as you see in the slide, that provide a visual representation of the use of energy throughout the day. In this particular load shape, you can see multiple peaks of energy usage in the morning and then later in the afternoon. The term 8760 electric usage profiles refers to information that can be provided on an hourly basis. It has this name because there are nominally 8,760 hours in a year. This type of data provides actual electrical usage for the facility system peak and average use data. Utility owns and operates the distribution system infrastructure. They can provide circuit diagrams, drawings, maps, and other documents or information that refer or relate to the infrastructure of the electric distribution system, which can provide valuable information to your project. This information can help establish which facilities can realistically be connected to the microgrid and which cannot, based on the way infrastructure is built and the way connections have been made to the buildings. Infrastructure diagrams can also help decide whether it will be beneficial to use part of the utility's infrastructure that may exist inside of the planned microgrid boundaries. Using existing infrastructure is a good way to lower the cost of the microgrid. However, this must be planned from an early stage and involve the utility at every step. Circuit diagrams can also show how best to connect the microgrid to the rest of the larger distribution system at its point of common connection, or otherwise known as the PCC. Additional information the utility has access to includes network diagrams and equipment schedules. Network diagrams include detailed one-line diagrams and GIS mapping of the electric circuits and gas pipe networks inside and outside the microgrid boundary areas. These plans often include precise locations and detailed descriptions of electric power and gas service equipment. Equipment schedules are lists of power equipment, such as line and instrument transformers, network protectors, and telemetering equipment that the utility may own and may exist on or near your microgrid. SCADA, S-C-A-D-A, is an acronym for Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition, which is the name for the control system architecture used by most utilities to gather real-time information off of the distribution network. It is important that utilities know anything that may impact the functioning of these systems. Information on this equipment and the data it provides can assist the microgrid planning process. It's important to remember that your microgrid system also has potential benefits for the utility system itself. This includes allowing the utility to delay or cancel improvements on the distribution infrastructure in your area if the microgrid can provide service in a way that is beneficial to the system. This can result in large financial savings for the distribution company. For example, a utility may be able to delay the construction of new feeder lines to increase capacity in your area if your microgrid is providing the new capacity instead. The utility may have distribution system planning reports they can share with you about service in your area. These reports are studies of forecasted capacity growth requirements and project system maintenance for the feeding power circuit and substations. This information can support the use of the microgrid design to provide resources with attributes and locations of genuine value to the local grid. Knowing what the utility is planning can help you build a microgrid that is valuable to the utility as well as to the community. The utility has to work hard to maintain the power and service quality of the distribution system. As the system grows, this becomes increasingly difficult for some areas of the grid that are growing rapidly and may have aging or out-of-date equipment. The microgrid can ease constraints on overburdened systems. Knowing about power and service quality issues during microgrid planning can help you and the utility make a better distribution system. Your team can work with the utility to find out if the utility is experiencing reliability or power quality issues in the area where the proposed microgrid will be located. Power and service quality are usually measured and reported in 3 different categories. The first is reliability, and reliability is measured in terms of both the time disconnected from the power supply because the grid is down and the number of interruptions like that you might experience over the course of a year. Quality of supply includes voltage fluctuations, continuous low voltage, and waveform distortion. When the quality of the power supply is low, this can damage machinery and equipment, including computers. Customer service refers to call center performance, dealing with customer complaints, billing issue, and timeliness of the installation of new connections. When utilities are overburdened by responding to a lot of power and service quality issues, customer service can suffer. So reach out to your utility representative as soon as possible to inform them of your plans to build a microgrid and request their assistance. Once you have begun to formulate plans, contact your sales representative or call the utility directly and let them know you're planning to build a microgrid. Get the list of contacts who can help you get the information you need about the distribution system in your area. And then you discuss with those contacts what you're going to do with that information. All utilities have a county representative can assist local governments with getting started. The New Jersey Board of Public Utilities, also known as BPU, is a place you can contact to ask some basic questions about who to talk to at each utility. Your local state senator or state assembly office can also assist you in getting in touch with the right person. As the preceding discussion has demonstrated, a close partnership with utility is very important to obtaining the information needed to plan and design the very best microgrid. This involves building a relationship with utility representatives and engaging in open dialogue starting from the very beginning of the project. It also requires an open exchange of information on both sides. We strongly recommend setting up in-person meetings to discuss the goals and plans for the microgrid. Show the utility representative the facilities that are expected to be part of the microgrid and engage in discussions with them to ensure that the optimal location and buildings are included. Arrange for on-site review by your technical consultant of the utility's technical documents and plans, and obtain valuable information with less effort on the part of the utility. This type of cooperation will go a long way towards building a cooperative partnership. The main reason to contact your local utility and cooperate with them during the microgrid planning process is because the utilities have the data you will need to build your microgrid. The utility has the information about distribution and time of use, which could be used with the information about the cost of power and contracts from stakeholders and types of generation that may already exist or are permitted by the Department of Environmental Protection or the Office of Emergency Management. Reach out to your local utility representative and let them know you're planning on building a microgrid. Most utilities will assign technical personnel with experience and with distributed generation to assist you through the planning process. Acquire a letter of support from your local utility. These letters can be very important when preparing applications for funding for your microgrid. Provide the utility a letter of authorization for release of customer usage information to your consultant so your consultants can access energy usage data for the facilities of the microgrid. Work with the utility to prepare a mutual non-disclosure agreement, or otherwise known as an NDA, to exchange confidential and proprietary information and documents. This presentation has hopefully provided you some basic information as to why and how to work with your local utilities when planning your microgrid. And hopefully it's provided you with descriptions of specific types of information that's helpful to you, information that is available from the utilities and that will assist in your microgrid planning process. Remember, the microgrid represents a fundamental change to the way our electric distribution systems have been operated for nearly 100 years. It will take an effort by all those who operate, maintain, use, and rely on the distribution system to make sure this generational change happens in an organized and efficient manner to provide the best outcomes for all. The microgrid has the potential to let local government participate directly in providing energy savings, improved energy services, and increased environmental benefits for their constituents. Working closely and cooperatively with your local energy utilities is one of the most important factors for ensuring the success of the microgrid project. Thank you for your time and attention and for participating in this webinar. If you have any questions regarding this presentation, please feel free to contact me.